everybody's creative potential into the new reality that's being created.
Okay, so if I'm approaching, like you said, the unified field, as far as I'm concerned, if you're, say you're looking at this hologram or whatever, oh, you can't even see my hands. I can't see you, you can't see me, but all right, so if you put your hands like you're holding an energy ball, right?
Yep.
I'm gonna pull a little thread right in there and bring whatever I want to me. Okay? I know other people don't see the world that way, and it can get real crazy and can get real hectic. But when I was reading tarot, one of the reasons why I stopped reading tarot as I was getting way too much information off of people I didn't want to know. All right.
Trust me, I understand. The more
And
than you
half
know.
of it, they would just be like, I can't believe you know that. Well, I'm touching your shit. You're asking about your ex, and I'm telling you all kinds of shit you need to fix. You know what I'm saying? Like, just stuff like that. They used to call me I was a tough reader. I didn't, I'm just gonna tell you like it is. This is it. But I noticed that that there will be people that will get a tarot reading and never change anything in their life. They don't use it. They don't use the information you give them.
Hold
And
on, stop,
so,
stop, 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 stop. No, you
what?
can't do that. You can't do that. You can't. That's probably why you're not doing it
Oh,
anymore.
oh
That's
no,
the
I just got tired of it.
that's the wrong
Yeah.
way of looking at delivering the message. It ain't your job for them to do something or not do something. You the
Oh
messenger.
no, I didn't pressure
Listen,
them.
you the
Okay, so
messenger. Your job is to just deliver the messages. You're not supposed to be disgruntled or overly elated about whether they follow through with changing because of the message. It might have been
mhm.
the message that's telling them to stay the same that you think is telling them to make a change, but they know what you're talking about better than you do because they know they self.
Well, yeah. Well, okay. But okay, where I was going with that is I think some people don't approach reality in the same way in the terms of they can mold it and they can shift it. And so to me, because I don't, I could be wrong, okay? I'm open to being wrong, but I don't feel that all of us at least, are not on some railroad track and it's all predestined and you have to do this and you have to do that because it's in a book somewhere or in your energy field. You shift and you change, you move and you move the reality. So, but I think a lot of people that I did readings for, they weren't like that. I guess is what I'm getting to, where um, it was stagnant energy that just stayed stagnant, and they just wanted to know what I could tell them about what they had no. A lot of them felt like they didn't have a choice in the matter. Like whatever was in the cards was just in the cards. So yeah, I was a good tarot reader, but I wouldn't say I was a good tarot reader. Does that make
I
sense?
don't think you was doing it for them. I think you was doing it as a training program for you in your self-development program. And
That I
at
wasn't
that
aware of what I
time,
was on.
yeah, no, at that time, that was the tools you was using because you was also testing your temperament, right? And your
Yeah.
ability to associate, dissociate as an empath. You giving me the training module codes for that reading type. You just used it as a tool. It was a training program. When
Yeah.
you
See, I didn't
accept
know
it
what
as a
training
lesson, when you accept it as a lesson, it can't be a loss. But in order to accept it as a lesson, you got to be able to learn from it.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I would agree with that totally. Totally.
I know. That's
And
why you're not doing it no more. Because it didn't match your temperament. That means that you had to test your temperament to find where your strengths and weaknesses was. That's part of your self program of self initiation into the self. And nobody write that but you because you the only one know yourself well enough to tell you if I put myself through this, I'm definitely not gonna go this route. You don't only one know yourself that well because you the only one can write your book of life. It was a training program. You ain't the only one
hmm.
to use it either. I use it exactly like you use it. Test my temperament and find out what being able to see into other people's energy and my own, how will I react to it? And this is where I learned to keep my composure dealing with people that don't agree with me. Because I had to keep my composure when the universe tell me something I definitely don't want to fucking hear.
Oh yeah,
No,
that got real old.
yeah.
That got real old.
So that give me a lot of what appears to be patience, but it ain't patience. It's experience. This coming across as patience, because process has to take place in order for the lesson to process.
I'd agree. I wouldn't say I have patience necessarily. I have emotional control.
But
So
emotional control can also be mistaken as a sense of patience. Just like mine
yeah,
is experience, yours is emotional control. I got good EQ, but you know, but the goal now is I was able to give you some insight into some things about what you was doing from
hmm
experience. In the same,
I would have never called that moon magic.
yeah. You can, as a matter of fact, you can Google that. Tarot cards is moon magic. It's that commonplace or common knowledge. Um,
I was just using
so,
them.
huh?
I was just using them. I didn't even really do a lot of research.
Mm-hmm.
I literally would say I could do this with I could see how after using tarot that you could do tea leaf readings or chicken bones or whatever. That's kind of how I use them. It was just a tool. I didn't do a lot of research on them other than the card meanings. That was
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah, but that's
Wow.
yeah. But hey, you put yourself in a position to learn a great deal. Make sure you milk it for everything it's worth, and take that to the bank because you're gonna be well paid. You already
And I'm
did the
assuming
work.
you don't mean money wise. Huh?
And said you already did the work. Now you gotta go. Only way that you can get paid out on the experience is when the losses become the lessons, and then all of the L's flip to sevens for jackpots. You the only one can milk that. It's the only you got your own bank.
I see. I'm not following you on that one.
It's energy. By going back over everything you learned, the more things that you suddenly realize that you've learned,
Oh, I
that's
see what you're saying.
flipping the L into the seven.
Yeah, sometimes I have blind spots on
Right.
just like that where you were talking about that was a training ground. I had no idea. I literally was just trying to help people. That was my only goal. I didn't even take money for readings or anything.
Mhm.
I never made one dime off of a reading.
Yeah, because
But
it
I
was on
started.
crimes at an alarming rate, never knowing that all crime is manufactured.
Right.
Right? They put people in situations, and if they react the way they're supposed to act, sometimes they go into prison. Because
Right.
if a motherfucker walk up and slap you in the face, you're supposed to knock all his teeth out
And kick him in the balls.
and kick him in
Simon
the balls. But
Simon.
now, if you do that, they call it a provoked assault.
Yeah, but hey, babe. Hey, babe, you got what you asked for. I'm minding my own business. La 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 la. Then some guy holler off, slap me, bow. Oh, now man, see he done turned me on now. See you
Mhm.
turned me on. I'm turned on now.
People don't think you
That's
have a
how I
right
think.
to mind your own business, though.
Uh,
People tend to believe you don't have a right to mind your own business.
yeah, that's right.
Like
That's right.
even if you go right now and you watch a serial killer drama at the movies,
Go
right?
ahead.
Just overhear the conversation. So many people like, I'd have been called the police on him.
Mm,
That ain't what I be saying. I be like, I'd have been killed that nigga. That nigga did.
right.
Right? It's the difference in how you perceive the world when you believe that this foreign military occupation actually belong here and are actually part of our community when they're antagonistic to it.
Right. That's facts.
Right? The tribes can't function like tribes because you got these corporations that set up on tribal territory, like the tribe is not there. They there.
Yeah.
GDs, Vice Lords, Peace Stones always been in Chicago before they had the name GDs, Vice Lords, and Peace Stones.
Right.
They the same clans. The only difference is under the modern banner of this wordplay. They don't call them tribes because then you know what's going on. They have to call them another name, so they choose to call them a gang.
Yeah.
G is the 7-letter made, and Ang is the avatar. Put that together. I'm Gorilla Ride, GD Ride, motherfucker. Beating on my chest, pounding on the concrete, making these motherfuckers see me swinging from these lampposts until we all free.
Yeah, it's going down. SikApe at the North Gate, man. When we not, you got to bump straight. That's all it is, too.
Fighting back, Gorilla Rays. Fuck with me, I'll rattle your cage.
That gorilla knock. That gorilla knock the door off your head. Sound like this. Blue, 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 blue. Sound like the police knocking out. That gorilla knock. Whew. It's like the door about to come off the hinges when a nigga hit that gorilla knock on the door. Nigga like, hold up, man. Somebody out there. You gonna know that gorilla knock wake you up out your sleep. You know what I'm saying? Nigga be in the dead sleep. You know what I'm saying?
Have motherfucker going ape shit.
Man, we about to get up out of here, y'all. We gonna be back as always. You know how we do it. Hey, y'all, we love you all throughout the boundless universe to all. Hey, run, tell it like that. We the best there is, man. You know, we love you all, y'all. Hit that like, man. We'll see y'all later. One love. Peace.
All right. Well, listen, like I said, I didn't want to play the long intro coming in because you need no introduction. So no sense in me playing a long intro, and I can play the long intro going out. It'll be the outro. So thank you for those who giving me comments about the hair. Thank you, appreciate it, y'all. But I reached out to Chief Pontiac and kind of, you're always gracious and willing to come on. And I know you wanted to be here on Friday, but you had a previous commitment to when we celebrated and honored Grand Sheik's 79th solar return. And so I know that, if you could have, you would have, but, so we did Tuesday, and it is always for me exciting because I never know what we're going to talk about. I don't make notes or, I don't like to prepare for most of my, interviews. I don't like to write down questions. I like to think about things. You know what I mean? I like to contemplate and let the universe give me, or move me in a direction at the time. Cause 2 days ago, what I felt, don't feel that today. So, I appreciate that you like to field questions and so forth. And once I get started, hopefully, you just take it and run with it and give us, because folk don't want to hear me. We want to hear from you what's going on. And a lot has taken place since we came together last, which was in November. And I think it was right after the elections. But we did a program called we may have dodged the bullet, but the gun's still loaded or something like that. I don't know what it was. It was something like that. And so we were looking at the somewhat of the results of the 2024 selection, and and then now we've had a couple of months of that, and and that's not all we want to talk about, but that's just one of a lot of things that has been going on in these last 3 months or so. Yeah. So with that, where do we want to start? Where do I want to start? I know where I want to start. I'm just going to start randomly where my heart has been for a minute. And I was so excited because over the last, year, I finally kind of paid a little bit more of attention to football, even though I realize that it is a part of the game. It's not just a game, but it's a part of, when I say the game, I'm talking about the larger distractions that have been put together. If I were to go back all the way back to the so-called days of the Roman gladiators, and the fights with the lions and the bloody whatever, the crowds gathering and getting all worked up, for those arena sports, just to provide what they call loosh for those that feed off of that kind of energy. And even though I realized that I paid attention over the last several months to football like I've never before, and actually sat and watched in my room and watched the game, and I was like, you watching the game and nobody's making you watch it? But it was something about this particular game that a lot of folks have been analyzing from a standpoint of the things that preceded it, the things that happened during it, and so forth. So I want to get your take. You get your take on that, and we can go back and forth with other things that happened before that and after that. But to me, right now, the game halftime show with Kendrick Lamar, the messages, the things that happened. Let's talk a little bit about that from Chief Pontiac's perspective.
I think the biggest obvious factor is the Kendrick halftime show was bigger than the game.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
Now, when we talk about Kendrick Lamar, you have to remember that he was supported in his rap career by all of the OGs from all of the sets around him. They all wanted him to focus on the music as a little boy.
Mm-hmm.
Because they wanted him to be the voice of his generation. Like we had Tupac, right? Before us, the 70s, they had Marvin Gaye, right? In the 60s, they had Sam Cooke. This generation needed a version, they spokesperson with the music. The dominant cultural shift in the music is the rebirth of hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
And the rebirth of hip hop, remember, it was born in New York.
Okay.
But they don't know that it's an old gestation that came from old Mississippian clans. It's a tribal way to communicate using a common language, right, in a rhythmic format tied to the drum beat. And remember Tupac say, that's why I keep my shit beat bumping warlike. Because he was calling the troops to attention without calling the troops to attention. Nobody don't know what he doing. They show if they had attention, because even in his absence 20-something years later, he's still the most loved of our generation. Even the ones that hate him love him. So he was our voice in the music industry to cover the field of arts and entertainment in the tribal communicational network. You have to go back to a couple years ago when all of the West Coast rappers honored him in the public domain. They given him the power to speak on their behalf for the culture. Now, after that, the next thing he did was he called together a bunch of OGs from all up and down the coast of California into Arizona and asked them to help him stop us from killing us so we can break free from the tyranny. Now, a lot of this stuff going on in the background, and you can only know about a result of when he come out to tell the story, right? So Drake playing the character of the dragon that gets slain at the feet of the great mother when she's giving birth to the child in Revelations. He had to be publicly slain, but he have to be caught between two pillars, which means Gemini. The first Gemini in this story is Tupac. The second Gemini in this story is Kendrick. right? So he caught between, in the culture, he's caught between Tupac and Kendrick, which triangulates on the dragon, the Dracos. As
Okay.
above, so below, they following a star map. Now, the other Gemini, I think Kanye, I think he's a Gemini.
Okay.
So now he's caught between 3 Geminis. They playing out stellar events in arts and entertainment using tribal lingo to talk to the other tribes across the land to draw us together in unity to overthrow the invaders. The political other side of that is Trump.
Okay.
Remember, DC is directly across the land from Hollywood. So to mirror everything Kendrick doing in arts and entertainment, Donald J. Trump is doing it in political satire. Right? So it's one make a move, another make a move. That tell me what move the people need me to make, so that's the move I make next. Right? And the New York culture is the influence that Trump is reading when he's seeing the LA message back to the east from the west. And as the sun shines from the east, even unto the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Right?
Wow.
But the Son of Man is not the Son of Man. That's the derogatory term because he's really the son of the great mother coming to get his mama shit back. Excuse my language. You're forgetting the more Dr. G show.
It's okay. It's okay.
Right. So then you got, it's all ties back to the Hopi prophecy where he said the man in the red hat will be the leader of the corporation. And while he's doing the tearing down of it in the open from the political standpoint, one of the chiefs, a shaman is what they call him, is going to be in the background following the tribal ways in order to restore everything back to balance. So the play out in the Super Bowl is the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles.
Excuse me. Somebody said, I don't mean to interrupt you, but somebody said in the chat that Trump is a Gemini also.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what they said. So I don't know.
Yeah. You know, he was picked by Panthers.
Panthers.
And when he was in college, he was a prime financier of the Black Panther Party.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah. He was called to a community leaders meeting about slumlords because his daddy had all of those slumlord properties that he inherited.
Oh, okay.
Right? But if you pay attention to what he did next, he stopped dealing in slumlord properties and went straight down into Manhattan and started building and buying.
Okay.
Right? So if you bump straight, we can use you. If you don't bump straight, we can't use you. We don't care about your personal quirks. Like everybody think you're racist.
Right.
But in the early 80s, late 70s, he was on the disco scene. Every one of the artists of the day was all hanging out with Trump. But he wasn't just hanging out with artists. He was also hanging out with activists. He was being seasoned in the hood, by the hood, so he can be our buck dancing cracker. So now he buck dancing. But every step he take, he making sure he hit a landmine. This is where they hiding it at. This is how they stole it.
Right.
This is how they swindling you. But don't worry about it, because every executive order to reverse a swindle, it go back to you. He don't want the money. He got his. He ain't in it for the money. Most politicians is in politics for the money.
Right. You're right about that.
Yep. You ain't officially in the billionaire club until you own a politician. Now you a power wielder, but you ain't a true politician until you got your first billionaire. Because you can only go so far without him. Because he's going to bring you something called the lobby. What do? Where they come from? They are the owners of major corporations around the world, international bankers, and warlords. And it's how you can watch the different people that's in the office at the time. You'll know if they got a warlord, a financier, a banker financier, or if they have a corporate financier.
How do you
right?
tell? How are you able to differentiate?
A good example is Bill Clinton. When Bill Clinton came out, billionaire ran against him. First time it was Forbes. That's who he was trying to get past. And then on the second one, it was Ross Perot. Now, Ross Perot was getting so much traction that his life and his family life was threatened and made him drop out the race until he fall behind in the poll. Right? So then when he re-entered the race, he's guaranteed to lose because the people looking at him is, we can't have no president with no backbone. Trump came out gangster. They shot him in the ear. He ain't stopped campaigning. Just like 50 Cent got shot 9 times. Tupac got shot 5 times. Right? So we seeing these different things play out in the public. When they do false flags events, that don't mean nobody get hurt.
Oh, I know that. What they call collateral damage.
Yeah. They don't mean that they didn't send a Manchurian candidate in there to do destruction so that they can say, look at this psycho, and make him off as a lone actor when the government was behind it the whole time. Right? The government has never been here for the people. That old we the people is stolen from the tribes of the land. But the whole concept behind it is they gonna scream our motto, land of the free, home of the brave. They gonna scream all our mottos and do exactly the opposite. They do everything to undermine the liberty and freedom of the people, but they screaming, people fight for your liberty and your freedom. But as soon as you fight for real freedom, they murder you like they did Martin. They shoot you down in your driveway like they did Medgar Evers. They catch you doing a speech at the Audubon Ballroom, and the real players got to come out now because you can't use your puppet pale face. Right? When you tell them to stop selling dope in your neighborhood, like Father God Allah Pudding, they want to come put a ridiculous amount of holes in you. And they look just like him. Because they couldn't have slid in and out of that particular neighborhood if they don't look like the people in the neighborhood.
Wow.
If you an artist with a big mouth, they gonna send these dudes at you in the camouflage while the police to look out on the outside and say that somebody was trying to rob you and hope that you don't see who it was. Because then you can blame people that's closest to you, because normally if you schooled in the art of war, they normally use the closest to you to reach out and touch you. All this tied back in to the political satire in DC, in the arts and entertainment of Hollywood, as Hollywood is burning, but the land is freezing. Southwest Detroit right now underwater. They say a water main break. I don't believe it.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look
I don't believe that. I'll a bit more believe that's a water main break as I believe that fire just started spontaneously in California. That's too much water. That had to be a big pipeline open.
That's that really.
We didn't have water main breaks. I didn't see them my whole life. I'd never seen one flood a neighborhood that fast. Normally, by the time it flood the street where it's broke at is where you saw the grounds crew from the water company digging. They come out immediately. They don't lag. The Detroit water, they ain't the best. They ain't the worst either. They'll get out there in a reasonable time to patch a water main break. That's not no water main break. Somebody opened up something that puts water on the land like that. I ain't falling for it. I don't believe it. But it's also coded in the 313. Southwest.
Okay.
Right? When you look at the Southwest, now you're looking at the Texas, Arizona, Florida area. Where was the Super Bowl?
Where did they have it? Where I was looking at
Was it in Louisiana?
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Which is where they had a big flood.
In Louisiana, New Orleans is exactly southwest of Detroit. All that stuff ain't none of that stuff coincidence. There's too many of them to be a coincidence because a coincidence is only two. Now we tying together 25 and 30 different things that's all connected.
Planes falling out the sky, planes landing and flipping on the runway, crashing, going up 1 minute and exploding and going down the next minute. It's a lot of crazy stuff.
And helicopters smashing into airplanes randomly.
Maybe a helicopter. Or maybe it was being remotely driven. Who knows what was
it? It don't matter. It's still a helicopter if it was a drone helicopter.
Right.
Right. And then the president of one of them African banks that was over here, he died in a plane crash over here or a helicopter crash over here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm wondering if he ain't the one that was on the helicopter that was the remote control was took over from in the remote location to fly it into the plane, and they just separated the reports so they don't seem similar.
Wow.
Because they say it was supposed to have been somebody important on the helicopter. Military dudes is putting that on TikTok.
Really?
They say that they give you the classification of the flight. They mean that it was somebody on there important. It was him and his son came up dead. I was in Nigeria. I don't think it's Nigeria, but it's an African country. And he was over here to tie into America returning to the gold standard and to do business with the new corporation that's on the rise, the new people, the return of the tribes. And that's why he was summarily dismissed from his duties. They don't never want us to make connections in a multicultural linking to overthrow the colonizers on all lands at the same time. But if we don't overthrow the colonizer on all lands at the same time, he's just going to regroup on somebody else's land and attack us again. We all have to be in on getting rid of the colonizers. Every tribe all over the planet. So you see him making moves in Samoa. The sister did the Hecka thing at the women's soccer tournament, the big women's soccer tournament. Came out there, led that Hecka, had the whole country. Then another one turned around and do the Hecka in the Senate building, and she's an elected official, really letting them know we taking this back. They use those things to talk to the other tribes so we think that we can all sync our moves. Right? Everybody do their part. We get rid of these SOBs. And the first thing we got to do is stop down talking people when you don't know what you're talking about.
Right, right.
Right? If people that have been telling y'all for 50, 60, 75 years like Taj, y'all don't want to listen because he wouldn't have had to tell y'all that many years for you to know how to organize. but he got to repeat it like a broken record. Not just him. See Freeman Hill, right? We had all of the other leaders that tried different stuff, like Yahweh ben Yahweh. We let the government tell us what to think about the leadership that's naturally rising up so they can insert the leaders they want us to have. We not buying it no more. And that's why I give this information that I have attained over the years away for free. Because once the babies get a hold of it and they see the vein of information starts to reveal itself when you start digging past the lies, it's over. And that's where we at now. The babies got it. The music is changing in the culture. Kendrick Lamar is a representation of that. They not like us. They look like us, but they ain't us.
That's right.
And they passed off all these people as scapegoats. So you can turn on each other. Now we want to attack the Mongolians they brought over as slaves to try to replace us with. Some of them didn't want to help us. They took sides with them. You know them because they don't look like no regular Mongolian. They look more pale face, and they own casinos. Not all casino owning tribes are in on it, but all of the ones in on it own casinos. All of the broke tribes, look at their socioeconomic condition. If it's the same as the south side of Chicago, is it the same as Jamaica, Queens? Is it the same as Brooklyn? Is it the same as Philly? The socioeconomics tell you who they stealing the money from. Because the ones who ain't getting the money access is the ones that's targeted to steal the money from. The tribes ain't never been broke over here. That's all they was trying to do was live off our wealth as long as they could until one of the chiefs say, hey, this is what they doing. They're using this artificial corporation masquerading as a proper jurisdictional authority on the land. Don't none of them people in them courts belong here. Don't nobody call the police belong here. The only law enforcement that we ever had was the one appointed by the local people in the area. You cannot bring outsiders in to police my community because that's warfare. That's occupation of foreign territory. If you don't know what an occupied territory is, you need to investigate it. Then you'll understand why the police look like they soldiers, because they is. They work for the crown. They don't work for us. That's why their job is to serve, protect, and break a brother's neck. That's why they were shooting us in the back in California that made the largest two clans on the West Coast wake up at the same time. The only problem is that they didn't know that they ain't the enemy to each other. They the enemy to the one they was brought here to destroy, to get off the land. Now they get it.
Oh, wow.
Now they get it. The OGs out there is reorganizing. What we gonna do, OG? We need to get some bread. Hit them people in the pockets like they did us. Make them shut down Nordstrom's. Make them pack their gold stores up. Because when you send in 1,000 or more, they can't do nothing. All they got, police can't even arrest nobody. It's in the law because of the 92 Rodney King situation. Yeah, when during the Rodney King situation, they told you about all of the burnings and stuff that the so-called people was doing, but they didn't tell you about the dirt the police was doing. The police was using the cover of the riot to execute key people in the community that they thought had control and influence and label them as dead drug dealers and label it as a drug-related crime. And Iran-Contra proved that the government was the ones bringing in dope. They was flooding it into our communities. And now you starving because we didn't cut off your socioeconomics. You're not allowed to get a skilled trades position because you don't look the part. Right? So when they systematically shut us out of finance, what we supposed to do? The tribal way is to get it off the land. Get it off the land. If you can't get it from the dirt, you ain't from over here. And in this case, get it from the dirt, landed them into a whole bag of snow, the snowman effect. Bill Clinton, CIA code named the snowman. Brought more dope into Arkansas than you could possibly imagine. He brought more dope in Arkansas than Big Meech ever seen, and used the police to transport it. And everybody in Arkansas know. All the tribes watching, they just ain't saying nothing. But you got leadership down in Arkansas waiting to tell the story about how the snowman snowed them in. And all that stuff is related. The ice is on the land. That means ice is on the land. I mean, Big Mama home. And when we about to have a heat up, that's called the King's Son effect. It's a heat up. It's another song in the culture that's telling you what to look for. You looking for the heat up after the freeze, because the Queen of the North is coming to restore the Queen of the South. The Ice Princess has become the Ice Queen. She's the Dame of the North. And it's just so ironic, Notre Dame is where they hatched that slave plot. That's why the cathedral looked like the slave ship, because it was an academic programming application. And the place that it was designed was struck from with a ship. They got pictures of the ship sitting right there watching it burn. And then they brushed it out, airbrushed it out on the news. Because that's where they hatched that plot. It was an academic plot. It was an educational paradigm in order to enforce some stuff called racism.
Yeah.
One of the biggest fallacies ever given to man as a tool to divide and conquer in order to maintain the artificial caste system based on skin color. So when he telling you about when he doing all of the play out in the arena, he's reenacting a story that's being told, and you got all of these people that did good breakdowns of it. B-Dale got one, Phase One got one. I got a couple of sisters that dropped some, you know, and a lot of people that went in and started translating the story, but don't just take there for the Super Bowl halftime show.
I did one too.
Did you? I didn't know you done one.
I did one too. It's out on Facebook. I sure did. I
did. So when you translating the symbolism, the more people's translation you look at, the better and clearer you can see the picture. Because you need all of those perspectives. Those are different people looking at the crime. You can't take one person's side of the story when it's 22 witnesses. And you only going to accept one witness out of 22. You left 21 of them unaccounted for. But when you see what all of them saw, now you can look at it again and see what you see for yourself.
Right. Because it's like anything that's happened at a crime or something, all the witnesses see it from their perspective. And somewhere along the line, if you look at them all, you're going to find some continuity in there. You may find varying perspectives from whatever angle they saw it, but there also should be some points that are in, very congruent and hey, see, everybody said that. Matter of fact, I'll share what I wrote if you don't mind. So, it wasn't no big deal, but I called it a baby boomer's perspective on Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance, because I was seeing all these people saying it was the worst Super Bowl halftime, this and it was so much stuff, but I kind of looked at the folks that were saying it, and I said, those who got it. Those who didn't, well, they not like us anyway. They're mad and confused because this wasn't the usual satanic, ritual-filled, sex magic, spell casting Super Bowl spectacle they've been accustomed to. Kendrick Lamar presented an in-your-face message of truth, restoration, and liberation from the grip and control of the colonizing forces that have, quote-unquote, traded places with, quote-unquote, us long enough. Like many of the old, quote, Negro spirituals that were actually used to send hidden message that a run for freedom was imminent, Kendrick Lamar took advantage of their most widely watched ritualistic event and flipped the script to speak truth to power, and I put the system on their nickel before the whole world. that was payment enough for Kendrick, because they were saying, you don't get paid for the Super Bowl. And I said, game over. Those looking to be entertained have but to turn on the mainstream news or The Simpsons. By the way, I said, I'm an almost 70-year-old great grandmom, and obviously I got it. So that was my response to the people that said it was terrible. I didn't think it was. From my perspective, and other people saw different things, but that's what I saw.
117 million people tuned in to watch the halftime show. Did not watch the game.
Well, you know what?